Christopher Monckton has produced his own slideshow documentary on the other side. It's called Apocalypse No, available at greatswindle.com right now. He's on the phone with us. This is the guy who stopped spearheaded the campaign to get Al Gore's movie thrown out of the schools over in England. One of the flat earthers, if I may say. You believe the moon landing was fake, Lord Monckton?
Oh, Glenn, it was actually filmed in the Scottish Highlands. We made a fortune out of it.
Really? I didn't know that. It's weird.
No, poor Al Gore, he lives in a fantasy world of his own, and of course it is he who's the flat earther and not us, because before Ptolemy and Copernicus came along, the scientific consensus was near unanimous that the Earth was indeed flat, apart from the odd mountain here and there in the Highlands. And it was only when the scientists had another look that they found the consensus had been wrong all the time. And it's going to be exactly the same with global warming. There is supposed to be a consensus. Actually, there isn't one, of course. More and more science.
Well, let me here, Lord Monga, and I have to tell you, what people will say today is we have been fed a constant stream of the last 3 days of the Antarctic ice shelf that has melted. Proof positive global warming.
Well, it's melting, but there was an earthquake first, and the most likely thing that causes ice to crack, of course, is an earthquake. And there is indeed local warming in that region of Antarctica caused by undersea volcanic activity, largely. But the most of Antarctica is cooling, though the newspapers somehow won't be telling you that.
Is it true that the ice that broke off was 0.01% of the total ice in Antarctica?
And I think you may be exaggerating slightly. And, of course, it didn't break off either. It was in danger of breaking off, and then along comes the Antarctic winter and all freezes it up again. So it didn't go anywhere.
Okay. All right. What was the answer to the question that Al Gore gave last night on his $300 million ad campaign? I have the question and his answer. I want to know what was the real answer. Here's the question and answer from TV last night.
We're told that this ad campaign is going to cost a barrel of money. How are you paying for this?
Well, Tipper and I, thank you again, have put all of the profits from the movie and the book that we would have otherwise gotten an Inconvenient Truth to this.
And all the profits?
Correct.
Yes.
All that we would have received, absolutely.
And not only that, but, there is a cash component to the Nobel Peace Prize, which he was awarded, and we donated that, and we matched it.
Okay, that's about $300 million that they're going to spend on the ad campaign. If we're incredibly generous, we can say that the Gores just donated $10 million. Incredibly generous. Where does the other $290 million come from for this ad campaign?
That, of course, is the question that she ought to have asked him, and she didn't, because if she had asked it, he wouldn't have agreed to the interview. And my guess is that it came from a number of sources, all of them undesirable, and all of them very unfriendly to the freedoms of the West. I think the Chinese government are involved in this up to their neck. I think the Indian government. I think several Arab governments.
Wait.
And I think also...
Hold it, wait a minute.
It's quite likely that outfits like Greenpeace and the Environmental Defense Fund, all these people, Greenpeace, after all, will soon have a navy larger than the British Navy.
Okay, hang on just a second. Lord Monckton, you say something like the Chinese and India are funneling money into this campaign.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to back that up? That's quite the charge.
It is quite a charge, but it's just a very large amount of money, which Gore hasn't got. And nor, I think, even do Greenpeace and the Environmental Defense Fund have that kind of money. It's such a large sum.
So what makes you jump? What makes you jump to India or China as opposed to...
Well, now, India, China, and Arab governments, who stands to gain? It's very simple, really. Who stands to gain if Western governments close down their economies because fatuous nincompoops like Al Gore come out and say that the sky's about to fall in? The answer is those countries that are trying to compete with us economically and would like to take over from us the leadership of the free world. And the Chinese would love to take over from us. They're already very active in Africa. They are moving in as our colonial powers move out. The Indians, of course, are also hugely expanding their economies. They're not going to be told to stop this. India and China have jointly and on several occasions announced that they are not going to reduce their emissions below the per capita level that we emit, and that would allow them actually to increase their emissions five-fold over and above what they already are. And China and India between them now account for getting on for two-thirds of all emissions worldwide. They have a huge vested interest in this, and I'm deeply suspicious of this very large amount of money that's being spent. And I think that everybody should now be asking Al Gore, where did this money come from? Is it clean money or is it dirty money?
Well, of course it's clean money. It's to help global warming. Lord Christopher Monckton is the guy who led the charge to get Al Gore's movie removed from schools in England. Leslie Stahl apparently did an awful lot of homework for this interview, and she came to the interview prepared with guns a-blazing when she said, hey, there are a lot of really credible people who say they don't agree with you on the global warming business. The one name she pulled out, which I think is the greatest scientist known to man, is Dick Cheney. I know you haven't done a lot of research on this, but can you come up with a few names of some scientists that have credibility other than the scientist that we all know Dick Cheney is?
Well, obviously, there are people like Professor Richard Lindzen, who's the professor of meteorology at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He knows more about the atmosphere than anybody else. There's Shunichi Akasofu, one of the 12 most cited scientists in the world in Japan, who's completely against it. There are people all over the world, thousands of them now, leading scientists like Roy Spencer and John Christie, who do all the atmospheric measurements using balloons, radiosondes, and satellites. There's Fred Singer, who established the U.S. Satellite Weather Service. I could go on and on.
Right. Lord Monckton, the interesting thing is you never hear any of these people really quoted in anything like 60 Minutes. I mean, you think 60 Minutes is supposed to be balanced, it's supposed to be fair, and supposed to hit with the heart. They always intersperse the answer to somebody who is the critic. They always do that. They go back and forth. That's what 60 Minutes is known for, except they didn't do it this time around. They just let Al Gore answer the question. Why do you suppose that is?
I think it's because they clearly have a political agenda, and this was revealed very clearly when Leslie Stahl said, in a remark which even the unspeakable BBC wouldn't have got away with, that Al Gore had won the popular vote at the last general election in the United States, but the Supreme Court had overturned the people's will. Now, that kind of remark indicates a very strong left-wing, international left political agenda, because actually a whole lot of journalists, including journalists from CBS, went along and got hold of the ballot papers in Florida where the dispute came from and recounted them and found that the result was even stronger in favor of George Bush than the official result, which is why they never published it and never screamed about it thereafter. So for her to say that indicates that clearly she was not intending to ask any real questions of Al Gore, and he, of course, would not have agreed to take part if he'd thought for one moment that she was going to do a proper journalistic job and ask any real questions. That's why for more than a year he has, in a cowardly fashion, dodged my invitation to him to debate with him head-to-head on CBS or any other television network he cares to name. He dare not do that because he knows the science is against him. And Leslie Stahl, if she had begun to ask him any scientific questions, would have had him on the ropes in 2 seconds.
Okay, the